Guys, our friends at BioOptimizers just released their new and improved formula for Magnesium Breakthrough, the most powerful magnesium supplement on the market today. This new 4th generation formula means Magnesium Breakthrough is now even more potent and effective for reducing stress, improving sleep, and boosting energy levels. In every bottle of Magnesium Breakthrough, you're going to get 7 unique forms of organic, full-spectrum magnesium, which supports your physical and mental health. Just take 2 capsules before you go to bed. You will be amazed by the improvements in your mood and energy levels. In addition to Magnesium Breakthrough, pick up a bottle of Masszymes. These are going to help you build more lean muscle, and P30M to reduce gas and bloating. BioOptimizers offers a full 1-year money-back guarantee. If you're not happy, just send back the remaining unopened bottles within 365 days and they will give you a full refund. Visit biooptimizers.com/Chael. Use the promo code Chael10. That's going to get you 10% off plus free shipping, or just click on the link below. Guys, I'm not looking to get in the way over here. I'm really not. If I was to tell you, or you gave me some magic wand, and I got to wave over the power of MMA, bring me the biggest fight that our industry can. This is with the knowledge that Francis Ngannou is out. The biggest match would be Francis Ngannou versus Jon Jones. With the knowledge that Francis is out, the biggest match that I would present to you, if I was put in that position, is Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. I love it. I know that you guys love it. I don't want to get in the way of that fight. If I was a heavyweight in that division, I am screaming from the rooftops, them boys can go and fight. It's got nothing to do with an interim championship, and it's got nothing to do with the #1 contendership. I'm sitting over here with no other point to you other than dumbstruck amazement that the heavyweights have not band together collectively and screamed this back. What does it take to be a #1 contender, guys? I know we're going to fiercely adhere to the rules that we make up on the spot within this sport. I'm well aware of that, but what does it mean to you in your mind, logically speaking, what you know as of your, what does it take to be a #1 contender? You're going to have a few things. There's not a goddamn one of them that Stipe or Jon Jones meets the criteria. That's the truth. What does it mean to be the GOAT ever? George St. Pierre or Khabib, what does it mean? And you're going to have a few things that go into that list. What does it mean to be the GOAT of your era? Kamaru Usman. These aren't trick questions. They're commonalities that a #1 guy would have, whether it's a #1 contender, the #1 of all time, the #1 of an era. What commonalities do you find? Sure, you're going to have popularity. You bet. Jon Jones and Stipe, without question. When does record come into that? Jon Jones at the heavyweight class has 0 wins. He's never won. At what point does record come in? I'm just asking you a question. If Kamaru Usman, who is currently the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world, did not fight for 2 years, would you guys still have him as the pound-for-pound #1 in the world? Conor McGregor, by example, on Tuesday at 9 a.m. when the new rankings came out, lost 2 spots. Oh, and by the way, he didn't fight. Gambrot fought. Went and took Conor's spot away. So Conor McGregor, who did not fight, who has done more than any name that I've thrown at you so far, right? Interim champion, 45-pound champion, 55-pound champion, crossed over to boxing, sold out more arenas, more pay-per-views, lost 2 spots. So this isn't a question of does activity matter. I am proving to you, and I'm not going back in time, I'm going to Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Of course activity matters. So you got one guy in Stipe who's, is it 7 months? Is it 7 months? Who, by the way, was stopped. In, by the way, a fight that had a concluded round that, by the way, he did not win. You know what a Stipe fan I am. I'm not looking to put, not in the least. Not even a teeny tiny bit of me is doing that. I'm talking about if you're the fellow heavyweights. Inactivity between the two of them is 2 years and 7 months. Nobody else within this sport right now, any weight class, and nobody else that you remember throughout the sport's history has a number one anything with a collective 2 years and 7 months of absence. But at heavyweight, we have two number one contenders, not just one. We have two guys that are going to go out and contest a number one contenders bout. Now, I believe they will make that for an interim title. And the only thing that the interim title guarantees you in this sport is a number one contendership. We have had other number one contenders fight. This will be a number one contenders fight. The fight goes and happens, something happened. It lays an egg. It doesn't do what it's expected to do, and that just vanishes. By the time you get to the press conference, that has vanished. We know that. That's the way that works. But when you have the interim title, it doesn't. It's the one thing that you're guaranteed. So we found not one but two guys to compete in our number one contenders fight. One who got stopped in his last outing. The other one who has never participated in the weight class, who, by the way, didn't make his last walk for 2 years. It's very relevant. This has not happened with anybody else ever. It's not happening with anybody today. Meanwhile, you got Tom Aspinwall, who's won more fights than I can keep track of. He's 12-2 overall, which represents 12 more wins than Jon Jones has ever had in the division. It represents 14 more walks than Jon Jones has ever had in the division. I know he's on a multi-fight win streak. I watched Tom Aspinwall stop a former world champion in Andrei Arlovski. I watched him advance his career to the 5-round club. He didn't need all 5 rounds. He ended up getting a stoppage, but it was in a main event. This is off the top of my head. I just gave you 2. I think it's like 4 in a row. Not to mention he's getting ready to take on Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes doesn't have the popularity. Curtis Blaydes is the hardest heavyweight fight out there. It could be the hardest work that Aspinall's going to have to do. To beat Curtis Blaydes, you got to put him down. It just turns out that Tom's got the boxing to do that, but that's the fight. I get that they don't have the popularity. Aspinwall versus Blaydes are not the big shiny trinkets of Jones versus Stipe, and boy, do I ever understand the importance of popularity. It is the only check in a reasonable person's box that you could give to that fight being a number one contenders fight, let alone what I believe it's going to be, which is a championship fight. You're going to put two guys into a championship fight that have not won in a collective 2 years and 7 months. Guys, that makes no realm of sense. I don't have what's called standing in the matter. Do you know what that means from a legal standpoint? You go hit your neighbor's car, I see it. You don't leave a note, you flee. Hit and run. I see the whole thing. It's against the law. I see it happen. I know that it's against the law. I can't go and file charges against you. It wasn't my car. I don't have what's called standing. I am not within the heavyweight division. It is shockingly clear that the hardest and most competitive fight out there that is booked right now is Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blaydes. That's a fact. That is a fact that I could scientifically prove by the numbers if you pressed me. But I don't feel like going and digressing. Set that aside for just a moment. The most popular fighter at heavyweight actually is not Jon Jones or Stipe. The most popular box office marketable needle-moving draw in the heavyweight class is Tai Tuivasa, who, by the way, nobody in the last 24 months, this is anybody within the sport, nobody in the last 24 months has made the physical jump that Tuivasa has. The only guy in the last 24 months that has made the same jump as Tuivasa is Belal Muhammad, but he did it in popularity. Tai Tuivasa's skills today versus what they were 4 fights ago, nobody's improved as much. Not to mention he's about to be a main event. Not to mention he's taking on one of the most beautiful records in the sport at 15-1, Ciryl Gane, who is a former champion. I mean, if you want to take the popularity angle and shove it up my ass with Aspinall and Curtis Blaydes, then you're going to make popularity the number one thing, and I'm going to bring in a Ciryl Gane versus Tai Tuivasa, which is one half of your former championship heavyweight fight, and the other half is the most popular heavyweight under contract today. Both of which are far better draws, far better logical people to be in a number one contenders fight. But it's not the direction we're going to go. I want to see the fight. I'm admitting to what a big fight it is. I am not looking to be a thorn in anybody's side. I'm stunned that the heavyweights are letting this go. They should be slamming their foot down. They should be screaming. They should be banding together. They should be double-crossing and stabbing those two guys in the back. They should. They should all collectively be doing their different interviews in their different spots in different pieces of the world, all on their social media saying, we, the locker room, do not recognize this. We, the locker room, will never recognize this. We, the locker room, understand that Aspinall versus Blades is the true number one contenders fight. We in the locker room understand that Gone versus Tuivasa is more meaningful than two guys that don't have a win between them and have not heard their walkout music hit the speakers in a collective 2 years and 7 months. This isn't my fight to have. This isn't my cross to bear. My one and only position to you is that I am stunned that I'm the one making this point. I wouldn't give a goddamn if Jon Jones was 10-0 at heavyweight and Stipe Miocic was 15-0 at heavyweight. I would still be pulling that fight apart if I was in the division. I would still be talking about how easy their opponents were. I would still be talking about how long it took them to do it. I would still be I would find something. I don't have to do any of that. I don't got to get creative at all. I don't got to sit down with a team of writers and get out my eraser and start taking notes before I call into the Jim Rome show. I don't have to do any of those things. I can just come out and tell the truth. One of them got beat at light heavyweight 2 years ago by a guy who's no longer in contention. And the other one got woken up and informed he was no longer champion. That's just what happened. This is not me being ornery. One half of those guys is my buddy. The other half, I never spare the lash. But in all fairness, I'm not looking to do that. I'm just a little surprised that the heavyweights haven't. Curtis Blades has been looked over and picked over since he got in this company. And I don't know why. And I've asked you guys. You guys are the one that's doing it. This isn't Dana and company. This is you guys. You guys have not elevated. You guys have not got behind. You guys have not enjoyed Curtis Blades. That's the truth. I look at what Curtis did, volunteers to fight Ngannou, gets beat, flies out to a different country, begging to fight him again, gets beat, comes back home and begs to fight him a third time. That's the kind of guy that we like. National champion wrestler who you guys deem boring because he takes everybody down, puts them against the fence and beats them up, so then he switches over to kickboxing. Starts moving into co-main event spots, main event spot. He does everything right. Not to mention he's a young guy. Not to mention he's a handsome guy. I don't know why you even got behind Curtis Blades. But to make believe that there's a better fighter in the division is not true. There are guys that maybe can beat Curtis. There's nobody that Curtis can't beat. Make sure you understand that. And Tom Aspinwall is about to put a lot on the line. Tom's going to be the favorite going into that fight. I just secretly know the truth that Curtis is good. This is a problem. And Tom should get his due if he can get over on Curtis. In all fairness, Curtis should get his due if he should get over on Tom. But the only thing that Stipe and Jon would have in front of those guys, they would have no number. Which isn't just wins, losses, which isn't just championships that they had once upon a time. Those things matter. Your laurels matter. Your resume matters. You bet your ass it does. But your separation from the sport does too. I mean, who else can play this game? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Could George come back and all of a sudden, number one? Yes, he probably could. George would probably be the exception. Who else? Who else has been out a period of time? One of our heroes from yesteryear. Could Randy Couture do it? Could Brock Lesnar do it? Could Chuck Liddell do it? Guys with big and beautiful resumes. When you put a level of separation between you, not to mention these guys aren't in a hurry to get back in there now. They're 2.7 as we speak. They're going to be 2.9 before you know it. One thing that Tai Tuivasa, Ciryl Gane, Curtis Blades, and Tom Aspinall will all have in common, so help me mark my words, is they will all fight before Jones and Stipe even get signed. So as much as the numbers are favoring those guys now, two of those guys are going to win. Two of those guys' numbers are going to be even better than they are today. And they're going to stand down for a dude who's never been licensed within the division versus another guy who got woken up and informed the outcome of his fight, and you're going to sit there and take it? I don't know what in the hell is wrong with you. I really don't know. And if you think your one voice isn't enough, and in all fairness, I don't think that's what it is, guys. I don't think that you don't have the sense that God gave geese, which is what you appear. I think you don't want to piss off Jon Jones. That's what I really think. I think you do not want to get in his crosshairs. That's what I really think. I think you do not want to piss off Stipe Miocic. If that is true, if I am right, and you're all scared to death of upsetting one of those guys, because then you might have to be facing one, I have a feeling you're all going to speak up a little bit more once those boys get signed. But while they're floating around and they're still available and there's still a chance, mum's the word. That's what I think. I've seen this a million times. Once they get signed, all of a sudden guys are going to grow some balls when they know that they can't get them. We see this a million times. If that in fact is the case, then they are the number one contenders. Absolutely. Playground rules carry over to the octagon. Two most feared guys on the playground are the two toughest guys on the play. That's the way it works. But if you want to be the champion, if you're going there and fighting world champions anyway, if you're going there and fighting main events anyway, if you're younger than a guy, you're busier than a guy, I mean, history says you can beat the guy. Not to mention, you're very likely to have a size advantage. Jon Jones' last time on the scale was 205 pounds. Stipe's last time on the scale was 233.2 pounds. God, I'm good. That was right off the top of my head. You don't meet anybody like me, do you? But in all fairness, what is it you're scared of? Because that is the number one contenders fight. If you are, in fact, all scared to fight them. If they're the two guys who have risen to the top because you all stood back, that playground rule carries over. If we take that out, if you tell me, Chael, you're wrong. Don't give a goddamn about them. I've never been offered them. I would have fought those guys in a second. If that's what you're telling me, we have a whole different conversation. There's nothing by the numbers that makes that an interim title fight. There's nothing by the numbers that makes that a number one contenders fight. There's plenty of things by the resume and the laurels that makes that a massive fight. I'm not arguing it shouldn't be a main event. And I'm not arguing that the arena shouldn't be sold out. I'm arguing that the guys that are doing the lifting, they're staying busy, they're signed to contracts right now, who have the numbers over those two today. And two of them are going to have more beautiful numbers before those two ever put pen to paper. Why are you not speaking up? Why do you not care about opportunities? Why do you not care about your career? Why does that not matter to you? Legitimate question. Very legitimate question. Does the title not mean today what it did when I was fighting? Maybe I have the disconnect. Truly. We'd have done anything for those opportunities back then. I have heard guys say, with the politics and the lack of competitive architecture, it just doesn't mean what it is. Is that what it is? Does that belt not mean a lot to you? The participates not mean a lot to you? The way you're going to be remembered, the way you're going to be reflected, the duration of your career, the respect of the community, does it not mean as much? I'm looking for a legitimate question here. I'm not just having a conversation. I want to know, why are you heavyweights standing aside for two guys who show no interest in fighting anybody, let alone each other, who have a collective 2.7 years of absence? Why are you backing down from them?